Hello friends, and welcome to my channel for another custom action figure video. Today we are going to be customizing this McFarlane Toys Robin from Batman Forever. Now, I've been on a run of doing customs of the McFarlane Batman Forever figures, turning them into more of a Mezco scale, in some case soft goods like with Two-Face, and I'm currently working on the Riddler. That video may be up at this point. And naturally, I need to make Robin. Now, I typically don't collect McFarlane figures unless I'm just buying them to take the head off and use it on like a soft goods body, because I prefer soft goods. They're not being a really great alternative for suits like this in soft goods. I decided to go ahead and use the McFarlane ones, and I've just been having a blast with these. I think the sculpts have been really good, and so it's been really fun to kind of bring some more life to them. This in particular is a really great Chris O'Donnell likeness, and really honestly a fantastic figure in general. Like, you have a double layer soft goods cape with a wire in it. There's just like a really nice sculpt to this, great articulation. Like, this is a great figure, so I'm excited to make it more lifelike. Now on camera, there's like this nice kind of sheen. It looks like they really nailed this in camera, but to the naked eye, it's that kind of swirly plastic that you see, and it's just a little inconsistent and not quite vibrant enough. I'm going to have to take the head off and mask off the neck, but I'll likely end up repainting the neck as well. I would like to have a cape that doesn't have this like basketball short mesh on it, but this is such a nice cape and it's really in there, and I'm just kind of like, you know what? I think they did a great job. It's already wired. I can live with it like this, and I think it's a good color too, so I'll probably be leaving that on. So I'm gonna have to figure out how to, like, you know, put it in a Ziploc bag or something so it's like this, and then I can just paint the suit. I probably won't take this all apart and paint it, simply because with the range of motion on these, you can really get into a lot of like the recesses and areas that, you know, you would be taking it apart to paint. So, and with the Batman, I just left it as it was. So now the other main change I've been doing is I've been swapping out the ankle pegs on these for smaller ones so that they stand a little bit shorter. Reason being is Robin's not quite as bad, but the McFarlane figures tend to be really out of proportion. Like, the heads are kind of small, the arms are a little bit too long, and the legs are too long. And I think some of that might be because what they do is, and this is just my hypothesis, I could be wrong, it looks like they sculpt the glove and the hand, and then they like space it out in the digital program and add the wrist peg in there. I think they definitely do that with the ankles. In fact, you can see, I don't know if you can tell on camera, but these ankle pegs are a different color. I think these are from like one of the other Batman figures, and they just said, oh, we'll just use the same ones. It's kind of blue, so it could be from the Batman and Robin version. But yeah, really looking forward to repainting this guy, and I think it's just going to look awesome on the shelf with the other figures. So without further ado, let's get into it. So originally this was going to be a process video, but I started this months ago, and then I lost steam on it, started working on other stuff, had other things come up, got stuck in a work tornado. Shout out to my friend Nora, who would not let me forget that I needed to finish this. She's a big fan of this version of Robin. And yeah, I got it done. So I'll talk about the paint and stuff that I used a little bit later. But first, I wanted to open up with some shots of the figure. This is him in that pose where he's coming down the stairs to tell Bruce, like, I'm joining you. We're partners. And I'm very stoked on how this one came out. It was pretty simple, honestly. My plan was initially to use a bunch of model paints. That's what I did with the Sonar Suit Batman. But it was such a pain, and that stuff doesn't dry well on the soft plastic, and that paint does not adhere to this kind of material very well. So I just opted to go with straight acrylics from the art supply shop, you know, Michael's Crafts, whatever. And I'm very thrilled with the result. Now I want to shout out Les Walker, who I've met because of these McFarlane Batman Begins customs that I've been doing. He's done a ton of them as well. He's repainted this whole line. He even made a really cool, like, what if there had been a fifth movie in this series Batman figure. So definitely check out his channel. But, you know, he used acrylics for his, and it just made me think, like, yeah, you know what, let me just use acrylics all the way across, because they just look really good. And I was like, I wanted the gloss that the enamel paint gives you, like that extra thickness. But ultimately, I think this looks pretty much exactly the same once you hit it with a couple coats of a glossy clear coat, which is what I did here. So Now, this is under Batman Forever lighting, because why not, right? I didn't have the blue and green light gels last time, and I do now. So I was like, yeah, let's look at these under like what they would look like kind of when they were shooting the movie. And I think it's really fun. Here he is coming down the stairs of the Batcave telling Bruce, I'm your partner whether you like it or not, basically. I love that scene in the movie. And I still need to build like a Batcave diorama for this shelf in my collection. And I think something that incorporates those stairs and him telling, coming down there to tell Bruce what he's doing, I think would be pretty cool. So we'll see. I got to get a good chunk of time under my belt in order to make that diorama. There's a lot of parts to it. Here they are lined up next to each other. And I just think that O'Donnell likeness on this figure is so good. You can't really see it as well in the stock paint job, but man, when you repaint it, it looks awesome. And we'll talk about how I did that shortly here. But yeah, this pair looks so good. Repainted like this, obviously you can see the articulation cuts and everything, but I just feel like you could stand these up next to the Hot Toys figures of the same characters and feel proud to have them like that. And yeah, just a little spin to show the 360 here. Yeah, what a cool pairing. I really love the design of this Robin suit. In all these videos I've talked about my growing love for Batman Forever. It was always my Batman movie as a kid because I came out when I was 10. And I've always loved it throughout the years. There were things I didn't quite like about it, but all those things kind of don't matter to me anymore because I see it as this kind of, riff on the somewhere between the 89 Tim Burton verse and the 66 TV show. And I think it's just a really fun way to do kind of a blend of those things. But yeah, the Sonar suit has grown on me a lot too. I really love that it kind of is like the proto Batman Begins suit in a lot of ways. These just look so cool together, especially with this lighting. And we'll take a look at Robin in more natural lighting here. So it's interesting, you can see the difference when you add sort of like white and yellow lights. The colors look much more bright and vibrant, whereas before under the blue and green lighting, they have much more of that subdued metallic look. It just, it's funny because when you're painting these things, you're trying to make it look like it did in the movie, but you forget that in the movie there was stage lighting, it was a big production, and here we're just in my studio. So, but yeah, you can really see that likeness to Chris O'Donnell right here. I mean, they just nailed this sculpt. So looking at it in more neutral lighting on the workbench here, and here's where the details really start to come out under this better overhead lighting. This is just fun to do, to take something that looks plasticky and like a toy and try to make it look more like a real person. I had a real good time doing this. So we'll talk a bit about some of the paint that I used here, but first I just kind of want to show some shots of it. You can see I repainted the belt as well, the green inside the Robin crest there. Did a little bit of dry brushing on the boots as well, just to kind of give it a little bit more of he's been walking around in them kind of look. Dragging a brush with some gray paint on the raised edges. So let's take a look at the paints I used. These are Deco Art Metallics. I get these at Michael's Crafts. You can get them at Hobby Lobby probably. So I basically found, just eyeballed what I thought was going to be the closest thing. The blue there, I used it here too to mix in with that green. The green he has is a little bit blue, and I wanted that to kind of show through. And then this is what I mixed them in. This is just like an old, plastic bowl that I keep around for this kind of stuff. And you can see how it's not the same color as what's in the bottle. So I mixed silver in with the red. Yeah, you can see the difference between the two there. And then I'm going to put a little bit of the green in here so you can see what the raw paint looks like next to when it has some silver mixed in. And it's pretty close. I mixed blue and silver in with it, but I didn't do a ton, just like a little drop of each. You compare that next to with the mixture there. And then below is where I mixed in a little bit of black just to give it a little bit of a darker color, because it does have kind of almost like a gunmetal sort of, undertone to it. I couldn't tell you exactly what to mix to get these. Like, this is just, you know, me eyeballing it. So that's my best advice if you're going to do something like this. Is like, just mix until you see what you want. And then once you see that, that's what you use. Here's a little before and after of the head sculpt painting. And I have a video of the Batman Mezco figure that I customized, and I talk about my head painting techniques in there when I'm embellishing what already exists and not like doing a full from scratch head paint. So I'll put a link to that at the end of this video so that you can see the techniques I use. It's one of the only times I've been able to actually record it. So here's the whole gang together. These are the customs that I mentioned earlier. This is my custom Two-Face and the Riddler. And I forgot to mention it, but I changed out the ankle pegs in this Robin as well. So these are all much closer to a Mezco scale. Those two specifically are Mezco scale. In fact, Two-Face is a Mezco Two-Face body. And then Riddler is also Mezco scale, is on a Mix Max body. Full videos of those on the channel. And then with this Batman, I did swap out the ankle pegs so that he'd be a little bit more in scale with Mezco figures and a little bit more in proportion. And I did the same thing with Robin. So I think his ankle pegs are from a McFarlane Supergirl. And then the wrist pegs are like Mezco Magneto ones that I had left over that I painted black. And it just shores up the proportions on him a little bit more, makes them a little more realistic. So he's a little less lanky that way. And then I had to put him next to the Panther suit. I know that they never appeared like this together in the movie, but they just look so good together. This is like a perfect pairing in my opinion. And that O'Donnell head sculpt, I think that's better than the Hot Toys one, honestly. It looks so much like him. They absolutely nailed it. There's a custom Panther suit Batman video on my channel for how I made all that. Yeah, I'm so thrilled at how those two look together. It just looks so sick. I know it's not screen accurate to display them together, but they might get displayed together. Those look so dope. Look at that. McFarlane really knocked it out of the park with these, I gotta say. I mean, obviously I had to do a lot of work to them to get them how I wanted, but I think even as base figures, they're pretty good. Here's a shot of the whole display. Again, I need to make a backdrop for them, some kind of a Batcave diorama. It'll be abbreviated like the one I did for the 89 Batcave, but yeah, have something in there that kind of fills in the background. Dude, they do look great together, especially with the green and blue lighting coming from either side. And again, that O'Donnell sculpt, I just can't get over how good it is once you actually bring out the likeness with the paint. This is the most fun I've had. You know, it's funny. I do a lot of soft goods, as I mentioned, and that's my favorite thing to customize, but doing a good old repaint on these, obviously I modified the Batman figures, gave them different cowls and stuff, but just the ease of repainting a figure instead of like making an outfit was really a nice little break. So as we wrap up here, I just want to thank everybody for watching. If you missed the other videos, like where I customized this Batmobile and made it movie accurate and these other figures, you can definitely check those out on the channel. And if you'd be so kind as to stick around for the last minute or so of this after the figure footage is done, I have a little bumper that just talks about the comic books and graphic novels that I have available. I'm a full-time comic book writer and artist, and I got a bunch of stuff that you could check out if you're into comics, and it would help support the channel. There's also t-shirts I have available, so check those out. If you have any questions, feel free to drop in the comments below. I answer everybody. I try to cover it all, but usually I forget something and somebody wants to know how I did this or that, so happy to answer that if you want to drop it down there. I do ask that you check the previous comments because a lot of times your question will be asked and answered already, and that just makes it a little easier for me to not have to take the time to double up on an answer when I could be, working on other stuff, trying to get more videos out. So, but I appreciate everybody's engagement so much. I mean, this channel's grown a lot and it keeps growing, and yeah, I have a lot of fun sharing this stuff with you guys, you know, like I realized while making this video, this is such a big part of my enjoyment of making figures, and that's a big part of why I share them on YouTube, is because I get to spend more time with them in a way that I don't typically. Like once I finish a project, I'll kind of put it on the shelf and I move on to the next thing. And doing this really causes me to like hone in on something I've made and appreciate the difference of how far it's come and the work I put into it. And, you know, then I get to have additional experiences with it because I'm talking to you all about it. So, you know, yeah, I just appreciate everybody tuning in and checking these out. So that's going to do it for me for this one. I'm going to leave past Ibrahim to tell you all about my books and stuff, and I'll catch you on the next one. So that is going to do it for this video. I want to thank you all so much for watching. I invite you to click the like button and hit subscribe and join me as I make cool stuff. Custom figures, dioramas, vehicles to go with the figures. I review new stuff that I get on the channel. If you're looking for other ways to support this, I've got t-shirts available. My Head on Swivel shirt, as well as several other action figure and comic book themed shirts are available in my Redbubble shop. If you've never used Redbubble, it's pretty great. You pick the color shirt, the style, and the design you want, and they ship it right to you. Now, if you're not a t-shirt person, but you like comics, I've got several comics and graphic novels available, namely my books High Crimes, Count, and Retroactive. High Crimes is kind of Breaking Bad meets Cliffhanger. Retroactive is like James Bond meets Groundhog Day, and Count is my sci-fi reimagining of the Count of Monte Cristo. Think kind of a, John Wick meets Batman meets Zorro. It's a cool story with swashbuckling action and sword fights and vehicle chases, and it's about redemption, revenge, and revolution. So those are all available at your local comic shop, bookstore, or at the links in the description below. So to everyone who's picked up a shirt already or one of my books, thank you so much. It means the absolute world to me. So that is going to do it for this one. Until next time, keep your head on swivel.